And we're back, and today we're gonna kick a little ass with Kick-Ass. Wow, just wow, guys. Not your top-notch stuff, but it's there, getting better. But yes, we're gonna go over Kick-Ass. So, all the comic-based movies is gonna be compared to its original state, meaning the comic. Because it's always a main question with these type of films. Is it going to follow the comic the right way? Along with the other stating, is it going to be good enough to sequel and continue on with its money grubbing? Its money grubbing ways. It's a very hard thing to set when you're a comic book sequel coming off of a really good first movie, and sometimes you don't want to do the sequels, but the fans usually, sign petitions, yell and scream on Twitter because they're little bitches, and we end up wanting to we usually get our way and then get hurt in the process. So Kick-Ass 2 comes out, but I gotta say, but I keep on trucking here. I gotta say, I did love the story. It's always a great story when the underdogs band together to take down the big guys of the world. It's always a fun one for me, and I do love watching that. Uh, who wouldn't, right? I mean, like I said, everyone loves a good underdog story, but in honesty, honestly, it was just as good as its predecessor, maybe a little bit better. I'm actually serious here because a lot of people are telling me that it's the second one, it's just as good or it's not as good as the first one, which I don't understand how. I personally enjoyed this one. Um, but a lot of comic film sequels do not do well as this one did, and boy, did this meet every expectation that I actually had for it. It was violent. Oh, you bet your sweet sugar buns that it was. They didn't let you go a full 5 minutes without someone fighting each other, without someone getting sliced, diced, and probably punched in the nuts. The fighting was probably one of the best parts of this film. They were so brutal, so badass, and these kids who are 15, I might add, in a rated R film, seriously know how to kick some ass. Pun intended there, definitely. Uh, the thing is, now a lot of people are asking me, you know, was the dialogue well written? I would say, oh, pretty much. Oh, hell yeah. I would definitely give that to it because everyone had the same, had some really good one-liners. It flowed pretty naturally, the dialogue, and it seemed to the dialogue seemed to fit the comic well enough for not to me, to throw a bitch fit about it. Because it was pretty much one solid storyline throughout the whole film. The side story were literally, but actually to the side. I mean, come on, you have a solid 3 to 5 minutes of Lindsay, Lindsay Fornsa as Dave's girlfriend. If you don't know who that is, she's the daughter of How I Met Your Mother. You've seen the beginning of almost every episode. But after they they mentioned her after that, you saw her, and they've never mentioned her or anything of the story ever again, which is why I kind of liked it, if you want to say. It stayed true to its point, to how the relationship between Dave and Mindy is going after their alter egos as superheroes was outed to the world. That point is a point throughout the film. It shows it, and it was good, and I loved seeing it. Not a lot of films tend to do that. Spider-Man really didn't do that a lot until like the third one, which tanked the franchise to begin with. So I'm hoping this doesn't one does that doesn't do this. Um, it doesn't really leave your sight, but the big side point here was great, and it showed that it was very well done, and it was showing that Dave needed to have a team, and it helped to help right the wrongs of the world. It it was a story that showed a lot of promise, and with a team inspired by Kick-Ass shows up, it's he's more inclined to join up, which I love, which leads to a spectacular and fun casting here. Because you add more characters, you get more people involved who actually probably wanted to be involved in the first place and didn't have the right characters for until now. But you do have Aaron Johnson, who just got fucking ripped for the sequel. I mean, this kid got jacked I mean, you could tell he was serious about this role. I mean, seriously, who the hell was your fucking trainer in there, man? And then you had Chloe Grace Moretz, who more than delivers as her role as Hit Girl. I'm a huge fan of Hit Girl. Who isn't by this me? I mean, definitely a favorite in my opinion. And then add, the hot tub funny man, Mr. Clark Duke, hysterical. And then you got Scrubs funny man, Donald Faison, who was actually a shock to me. I love him in Scrubs. It was definitely a shock to see him in this type of a film. And then you have John Leguizamo. I mean, what kid doesn't love Sid, from, the Sloth from Ice Age? It was definitely an interesting character for him. It was actually probably one that he normally tends to play a lot. And it was a personal favorite of mine. There was a personal favorite of mine, the man behind the mask, Mr. Ace Ventura himself, Mr. Alrighty then, Mr. Jim Carrey. Yes, I don't know how they got him to be in this film, but I loved it. Jim Carrey threw a it was fantastic to see in this film as Colonel Stars as the Colonel. Unfortunately, he didn't promote the movie, which I was kind of sad about. But he was one of my favorite characters in this film. But I loved him. I love him nonetheless, especially in this cast. Nonetheless, they were all spectacular. Loved every second of this film. Loved every second of the casting. Definitely a format on how comic sequels, I should say, should be done. You just have to add some certain stuff to some of it, and I enjoyed everything about it. Obviously, if you haven't known by now, I'm definitely recommending this film. Who among us doesn't love violence and blood and revenge? I mean, most of all, superheroes. I mean, it's kind of a common theme now with movies like every few months. It just screams from the trailer. It just screams amazing and awesomeness. I definitely implore you to check this out. If you do not, you will be sorry, because it's definitely something. It's definitely worth your time, and something you definitely want to worth. It's definitely something you want to check out. But I also implore you to check out. That's right, my channel. Make sure you subscribe right here. You can do that right over there. But also share on Facebook and on Twitter. Our next film will be Getting Jobs. What? What Getting Jobs? That makes no sense. You sure that's right, guys? I don't understand. Sean, we're getting jobs? Is that what we're doing? Oh, I get it. We're going over Jobs. It's the Steve Jobs biopic. Now, see, that makes more sense. Why didn't you just put that in the first place? See, that just makes, yeah, that's perfect. Just make sure you guys stay tuned for that.